We're going to begin this lesson with a question. I know it's early, but let's get started. Which one of these images of my wife playing golf, actually she's pretty good, she beats me, of course that's not saying much, but which one's the right one? And by that right, I mean the right colors. I'm hoping you're beginning to object to that question in some of the same ways that I might. For example, Andy, I don't know if I'm looking at the same thing you're looking at. My monitor might be not your monitor, calibration, etc., and you're on the right road when you ask those questions. Because RGB, understand, is a subjective color space. Go to a department store and look at the television sets, the plasmas, the LCDs. Maybe you've got some really good games you want to watch on TV, and you want a nice big TV to bring all your friends over. So you're looking at them. They've got the same game playing, the same soccer game, the same American football game, whatever. They're showing the same thing on all the televisions, and what do you notice? You notice they're different in terms of color. One's a little bit greener, one's got a little bit more blue in it. They're all different because RGB is a subjective color space. What happens is the signal, the digital signal, is the same, but the manufacturer interprets the color green differently based on their particular interpretation system, and that's why it looks different. What do we need? We need stabilization. I want to, as much as technically possible, what you see is what I see and vice versa, and that's what we can do in Photoshop. What we're going to do is we're going up to the word Edit on the pull-down menu, and we're going down to Settings. Color Settings right there. The Color Settings dialog box in Photoshop allows me to create stable color management in this program. You will see a settings option. Mine's on North American General Purpose 2. You might see European on yours, or you might see Japan, but it will probably be one of the General Purpose 2 ones. Don't worry about that. Leave that on whatever it is. What I want us to do is change a couple of things down here. Andy, what's the most stable system? Now, this is based on what I do, and I think it's a pretty good one to use. I want you to change RGB from sRGB into Adobe RGB 1998. Now, it's going to cause some interesting things later on, but don't worry about that now. Just go ahead and set that one. For CMYK, you might be lucky enough to have a service bureau that you work with that actually has settings for their particular press. In that case, don't guess on which one of these to use. You would actually go up to the word Load CMYK right there. And then you would choose the settings that they gave you, probably through an email attachment, and go ahead and click Open, and that would change those. Don't worry about these down here. I want to show you just one or two more. Come down to the Intent. Now, intent is the color intent. If you work like I do with a lot of stuff on your monitor, screenshots and things as a trainer, then I want you to change that to perceptual. If you're not working with a lot of screenshots, you're working with a lot of images and photographs, again, I do that too, then you want to leave that at relative colorimetric. And I would suggest turning off one more thing. That's use dither. Dithering does this. When two colors come together on a monitor, a pattern is created to help the eye see a transition. I find it creates these patterns that I don't like when I try to do my editing. So in almost all cases, no matter what I'm doing, I usually will turn that one off. All right, let's go back up to the word Save and give this a name. Call it Standard Color, whatever you want to call it. And go ahead, make sure you're in the Settings folder, which you should be, and click Save. Now it'll ask you if you want to comment here, Entered In will appear, and you could put in their general purpose color, whatever you want to write in there. Click OK. You have now saved, and you can see Standard Color. Click OK to get back out of this. We have now stabilized the color settings in Adobe Photoshop. However, we have one more problem, and it's easy to solve. I'm working in the Creative Suite, and you may have had this problem. Andy, I got an image, it looks great. I move it into InDesign, which of course is another Creative Suite product. And that's driving me crazy because shouldn't Adobe solve that problem? And they have, but they don't assume anything. What we need to do is we're going to go into Bridge. Now in Bridge, go up to the word Edit on the pull-down menu and go down to Creative Suite Color Settings. You will see your set right in this list. There it is, Standard Color. That's the one we just made. Click Apply. What you have just done is informed every single Creative Suite program your intent for color management. You have now stabilized the color system. Now that's good. That's the first step. The next step is figuring out how to make it work good with a calibrated monitor, and that's what we're going to do next.